we've now come to the Dundalk side of the bridge right now, where we can kind of see the left side of the ship. And one thing that really sticks out to me when the boat stops is just how quiet it is out here on the water. There's actually a calm serenity out here when we're from afar, but then the pictures you look at just don't match with that calmness. I looked through the viewfinder to kind of see how many ships and how many vessels I can actually see out here, and I stopped counting at about 15. And that's just within my sight from what I could see. There are a lot of boats, a lot of vessels out there right now doing their part. We are keeping a distance. I would say we're about a half mile or so out from the ship right now. And as you see, the central part where all the trusses were from the bridge is all down. It's just emptiness. It's just sky. Those trusses are in the water right now. In front of many of those trusses are law enforcement boats, Coast Guard ships. The Coast Guard terminal is just down Curtis Creek. I would say probably about a mile from here as you kind of go through the water. And so we see one Coast Guard helicopter that's been flying at a pretty low elevation. We've seen a couple other helicopters as well, but it's pretty calm out here right now from our distance. And you can really see the impressive scale of the ship right now. This is a huge bridge. The Key Bridge is enormous, but look at that floating city. That cargo ship rested up against what was once the Key Bridge. It's really remarkable, guys, when you see, especially the video, when you realize that ship wasn't going fast. The amount of tonnage on that ship, it didn't take much to do all of this damage, and that's what's really remarkable. We do have Kenny, the photographer, and I on the boat, and one captain, and we are keeping a distance, but all vessels out here are on the lookout for anything in the water as well. So we obviously are looking in the water for anything that sticks out, as we're about a half mile on the city harbor side here, as behind the camera is Dundalk Terminal. And as we told you earlier in this broadcast, there are not many ships, thankfully, at the Dundalk and Seagirt terminals right now. I'm only looking at one ship in the Dundalk terminal, and so that might be fortuitous, really, that there aren't a lot of ships stuck inside the harbor right now, as this recovery effort remains underway. Want to tell you what we're looking at right now. This is kind of the central part of what was once the Key Bridge, and you can kind of see some of the police boats out there right now. Those signs on the right side of the screen there are for the electrical lines overhead. So just kind of warning boaters about the electrical lines and warning boat captains about the electrical lines. Nothing visually is out of the ordinary from on the ship right now. We had talked about some of the exhaust coming out of this ship earlier. It looks fairly normal to me right now. But what obviously is striking is just the enormity of nothing, of what was once the Key Bridge, here connecting the two communities here on each side of the water. We continue to kind of troll ahead here on the left side of this ship. And as I mentioned earlier, just kind of an eerie quiet out here right now, a calm of sorts on this really beautiful March day.
And of course, Paul, one of the most impressive pictures I've seen right now coming from your camera there is just that fractured section of the bridge resting on the edge of the ship. A couple of things come to mind. One, how in the world they're ever going to be able to get that off of there? And second of all, how much damage is done to the ship, and are they going to be able to tow it back to where it came from?
Yeah, I think that's a secondary thought right now, Vic, as we're trying to figure out the activity on the water right now is really focused toward the water and really focused toward any type of search and rescue effort. But as you mentioned, that is an impressive sight of that truss resting up against the beginning of that ship. How long that will take is anybody's guess, really, at this point, as really the focus right now is who was on this bridge and where they are now.
Right. Purely rhetorical questions right now, as you know right now, because as you mentioned, the focus absolutely has to be on search and rescue. Clearly what's being done by the number of groupings of ships, boats that you saw out there, a little bit to your left of the screen.
And Paul, you gave us a bit of a description earlier, but what's the state of the water right now? What sorts of conditions are these first responders on the water sort of working in at the moment?
Yeah, the water is fairly calm right now. It's not very choppy. Even on the way here, we didn't have much wake. There's not a lot of boat activity right now. The only boat that passed us on the way out was a police boat. So there's not a lot of traffic out here, thankfully, and we're obviously keeping a bit of a distance. But the water itself is pretty calm at the moment. So that is working in the favor of those in the recovery effort right now. As is the visibility. It's a bright sunny day out here. So they have conditions in their favor, but they don't have time in their favor right now, of course.
Right.
That disbelief and that pit in the stomach is also felt here on the water, Rick. We are about a quarter-mile away from the ship, and that's as close as we can get. There is a quarter-mile restriction here on the water. We're at the Baltimore Harbor, in the Baltimore Harbor right now, and we're essentially at the marker where Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. That's important for a couple of different contexts as well. You can see that ship behind me here. This is where Francis Scott Key looked back in toward the harbor to write that poem, the Star-Spangled Banner. But now all the eyes from the city are now facing out in this direction to look at what was once the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which its trusses now are resting in the water. I've got my binoculars now that I'll go ahead and take a look here as Kenny, our photographer, is kind of zooming in to the truss right now, and I can tell you that there are a number of law enforcement and police boats that have been circling that area as well. And as he works from left to right, you see the ship and just how enormous it is in comparison to some of the other vessels in the water. There in the foreground is a Maryland Transportation Authority police boat. They were the ones who just came over and told us that there's a quarter-mile zone. We were outside of that, and we will, of course, remain outside of that. We saw several dive teams just in the distance there beyond that Maryland Transportation Authority boat. It's really the most people we've seen on a boat. They've all been gathered there. We saw them about a matter of 15 minutes ago. So still remaining a lot of activity on the water right now. And you can see from the ship, from our perspective, just the enormity of that truss that fell onto the top of this dolly ship. And as you can see, the dolly ship from the rear of it, you can see that it's from Singapore. And several shipping containers on the front of that ship have been crushed by that truss from the bridge. Just giving an indication, really, of just the effort ahead as these days, weeks, and months of this effort to clear this area. But still a lot of activity on the water here, guys, from search and rescue dive teams. By my count, there are about 20 vessels in the water. But one thing that's really striking to me is just how calm it is out here. The winds are not very strong. If anything, they are almost non-existent. When there's no wake in the water, we're looking at glass out here in the Baltimore Harbor. And you can probably see from the smokestacks in the distance and even the exhaust coming off of this cargo ship, there's not a lot of wind out here. It's not producing a lot of wake. The sun is out for the time being, as we expect some pretty decent weather, at least throughout much of the daytime hours today. So there are some good things pointing in the favor of this search, recovery, rescue effort. But of course, time is not in anyone's favor right now, as we are now past 10 hours of when this collision and collapse happened. Behind the screen right now is the Bowley's Quarters Marine Emergency Team 21 just pulled up beside us. There are the ports of Baltimore, the Seagirt and Dundalk terminals, and there's only one ship that is currently docked there right now. That if anything is fortuitous here, that there aren't many ships that are stuck. Of course, I didn't see any cruise ships here in Baltimore. So we need to determine when those cruise ships were scheduled to come back as well. There are so many moving parts, not to mention the tens of thousands of cars that would cross this bridge every day. The bridge that once stood here just a matter of 11 hours ago that is now in the water as these vessels are circling it here from the Baltimore harbor. So for now, that's where we are reporting. I'm Paul Gessler for WJZ. Back to you.
Paul, excellent reporting on what is certainly a tough story to cover this afternoon.
Yeah, Rick, and as we hear the president talk about how much longer that this will take to rebuild, he acknowledges this will take some time. And I'm looking behind you. I'm looking out to where President Biden was visiting just about 2.5 years ago as he was touting the infrastructure bill, looking out at this key bridge as he was touring the port of Baltimore to tout how much cargo they get in and out of this port. That is President Biden's perspective on this. And as we look at the scene right now, it is, quite frankly, Rick, very calm on the water right now. You can actually see just the maritime term is it looks like glass out here. It is very calm, very, very light winds. It's a sunny day. Only the pictures don't match it when you look at that giant cargo ship. Now, we're looking at the bridge right now, and we were showing before President Biden spoke these street lamps that are coming up from the portion of the Key Bridge that remains. You can actually see the curvature of these street lamps are sticking out of the Patapsco here. So that gives you an idea that the depth at some of these points is not that deep. It's not deep, and it shows that the street lamps are actually coming out of it. So the roadway is not that far submerged from certain points. Now, obviously, the channel that the ships come through is much deeper. We're talking 50, 60 feet in spots, and you can actually see the weight coming down on the front of this cargo ship is actually demonstrated in the fact that the back of that ship is actually a little elevated out of the water, as you can see. That's how much weight is on the front of this dolly cargo ship, with hundreds of containers on top, some of which are crushed at the beginning from the steel truss of this Francis Scott Key Bridge. 1.5 miles long, and as you can see, the vast majority of the middle of it is now in the water. Just truly breathtaking. I will say that the vessel traffic here on the water has calmed down a little bit from our side. We did see dozens of dive teams all converge onto one boat. This was about an hour or so ago on the other side of the river here. And that was the most activity we've seen from the water. But now a lot of the activity has calmed down considerably. Of course, only emergency vessels are allowed inside the 1/4 mile range. We are just outside of that range right now, staying out of the way, but also being on the lookout. We have binoculars that we've been kind of trying to get better perspectives of things. So the only traffic that has passed us by has been police boats and Coast Guard boats. In fact, the Coast Guard helicopter just flew away from the scene right now. Of course, the Coast Guard station is just down Curtis Creek, which is, as the crow flies, about 1 mile from here, near the landfill off in the distance there. But the enormity of this project moving forward is going to be vast, and it's no more evident than the pictures you're looking at right now on the water here at the Baltimore Harbor. To give some a little bit more perspective before we pass it into you, as we've pointed out a couple times this morning, we came past Fort McHenry here on the way out. We are actually just about at the spot where Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. To give you a little perspective, of course, the bridge named after Francis Scott Key, looking back toward the city of Baltimore, but now all eyes of Baltimore are out on the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Just truly stunning sights out here from the water on a very calm, sunny day. We'll toss it back to you all. Yeah, and we're looking back toward downtown Baltimore right now, and really all the eyes of Baltimore looking back toward the Francis Scott Key Bridge, unlike that time when he wrote the poem hundreds of years ago. We're looking right now at the ship from a different angle, now on the Anne Arundel County side of what was once the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And what's really striking to me from this angle is just the enormity of this cargo ship when you compare it to the boats in the foreground. The vessels in the foreground are not small boats, they're not small vessels, but when you put them up against this cargo ship that's crashed into the bridge, they look tiny, because they are. This ship is enormous, carrying hundreds of these cargo containers. And we mentioned earlier the street lamps that are on this bridge that illuminate the driving surface at night. We're actually seeing a couple of them poke up from the water to give you a kind of a sense that in parts of this Patapsco River, it's not terribly deep. So even some of the roadway and some of the steel trusses, as you can obviously see, are up out of the water right now. The only vessels allowed within a quarter mile of this ship are emergency vessels, are emergency crews who are continuing this search and rescue mission. Again, we're on the Anne Arundel County side of the bridge, a little bit of a different angle from where we brought you earlier. Now, as you can see, the sun is hitting it here from this angle. And for the bow of this ship, you can see, is a little bit deeper into the water than the back. So we're not quite sure if it is taking on any water, but it's certainly taking on a lot of weight from the steel trusses that are still resting on it from its left side behind the vantage point where we are right now. Denise?
And Paul, I do have a question. You know, we've just learned that the search for the 6 individuals who remain missing right now is ongoing, and you've been out there all day. How has the scene there changed, you know, in the past few hours that you've been there? Because we've been in here and we're saying, look, it looks like it's probably really cold, but at the same time, there seems to be more visibility. What has changed over the hours that you've been out there?
That's a great question. You know, the weather is certainly a little bit windier now. When we were out earlier, the water surface was really just glass. It was very calm out here, almost eerily calm considering the visuals we were looking at. When we don't have our boat engines on, it's a calm, albeit a little cold day on the water here out in the Patapsco River. But now that the winds have picked up here in the afternoon, it's a little bit more choppy. I will say the dive teams that we saw about in the 11 o'clock hour that got back up on the Coast Guard ship were on this side of the bridge. They were right about generally where we are now. We don't see them right now. Now, that's not to say they're not on the other side of the ship, but where they were a couple hours ago, they're not here anymore. So we're not seeing any active searching within sight of us. In fact, I've got my binoculars here, and I do see some activity on the other side of what was once the bridge, and there's, as you may see, there's a search and rescue chopper still flying pretty low on the other side of the bridge right now. So we're not seeing any active searches. I will say it's a lot more windy out here. Not terribly windy, but it's afternoon winds here out on the water, and it's creating slightly choppier waters right now, but almost no wake because there's no ship, there's no recreational boat traffic out here.
I know, Paul, just a quick note, drone pilots, because a lot of people have them now, are told flight restrictions are in place around this collapse. They're asked not to interfere with those rescue operations. So if you have a drone and you think it'll be sort of cool to get pictures, don't do it. You will interfere with emergency operations. You don't want to do that. How were you able to get on this boat, Paul, and get as close as you are?
Yeah, well, we searched our contacts and worked our contacts with Marty Bass, who gave some really good perspective earlier. He's a recreational boater, so it's good to know Marty, right?
Yes, it absolutely is.
Well, and Marty, I mean, again, this is a huge boating community. Lots of people have fishing boats and crabbing boats, etc. And anyone who has a boat has been under that bridge. And it is an incredible, I have to say don't
Past tense.
It was an extraordinary sight to be underneath and look up and see those 4 lanes of traffic. I will say that right now, if you are a subscriber, and I would recommend it, the Baltimore Banner reporters are doing some really good digging about the construction of this bridge and whether it should have been able to withstand some sort of impact like that. So you want to head to the Baltimore Banner to see the kind of research that they're doing right now about the engineering of this bridge. But as Rick has been saying earlier, Paul, it's so ironic. It was March 23rd, 1977, that the first traffic went across this bridge. So, you know, we're talking just a few days apart from its opening to now its horrible, horrible closing.
And I want to point out to you what we're looking at right now. That green buoy right there marks the shipping channel. So we're not too far away from the shipping channel where these big cargo ships are supposed to be guided underneath the Key Bridge. We're in about 30, 40 feet of water right now beneath us, but it's much deeper in that channel, and that's where all these ships should be going. So that gives you an indication just how close to the shipping channel we are as we pan a little bit more over right to really this destruction of what was once the Key Bridge, Janice.
Yeah, all right. Well, Paul, you stay there because it's going to stay light, and we want you to be right there when hopefully something significant takes place in terms of the rescue effort that's going on not far from you. So thank you, Paul, reporting live from a vessel out there on the waters.
Yes, and Paul